All right. Welcome everybody. Welcome to the podcast. My name is Jared. I am joined with Homozoned
It's good.
and Jay.
Ah!
All right. and
Hi guys, my name
yeah,
is Jay.
this is gonna be the very first podcast, so we're pretty
In the
excited.
world.
Very first
Very f-
podcast in the world.
How did we even come up with the name podcast? Honestly, it's crazy.
Yeah, exactly.
Creative people of all
Because we're
time.
geniuses, dude.
Mm-hmm.
What do you mean?
We got some topics we're gonna be talking about today. It's kind of just gonna be like a mash of just anything we could really think about. It's our first time doing this, so we're all new.
What do you
We're
mean?
here
I've been doing podcasts since I was 3 fucking months in the womb. Honestly,
in the womb. Wow.
yeah, dude. I was doing the placenta cast.
the
Oh,
placenta
ooh.
cast. Got it.
Ooh.
And that's where this all started.
Yep.
All
Yep,
right.
the prelude.
So, not sure if you guys have seen the new Razer phone that came out.
I have seen very little.
It's
very
interesting.
little.
See, shit.
It's very interesting.
We were talking about it
Tell
in
me
the
about
past,
it,
and I was
dude.
like, I haven't even heard of it, bro.
It's pretty cool. I mean, their whole thing, obviously, Razer's slogan is like for gamers by gamers. So the thing that's cool about it, but not focused just to me, is the phone spec wise is very focused towards being able to play games on it, being able to stream video at high quality and high audio
Shaking
quality.
my head. Shake my head.
Why? Explain.
I don't know. I don't feel like I'd want a phone that can stream video games. That's
Yeah.
just me, but like, No.
Dude, I almost exclusively watch YouTube videos and Twitch streams on my phone when I'm sitting in bed because I don't want to move my laptop.
That's the
move my
same with me.
computer.
I don't have a laptop, so I do watch a majority of YouTube on my phone or Twitch on my phone as well. And I'm currently using a Samsung. But the only thing I guess that worries me about the phone, I totally appreciate the phone. Okay, I like what they're doing because it's totally Razer's like whole brand is for gamers by gamers. They really are spec intensive. And the only thing that like kind of turns me off about it is I'm not sure if the camera's up to par with like the new iPhone or the new Samsung. And
Yeah, true.
me being a photographer myself, it kind of worries me a little bit. I think I would care more for a phone with a better camera than more processing power.
Yeah, I agree with that too, and I think that's generally the public's opinion on phones as well. I think this Razer phone's not going to do super great. I think the market for it's pretty niche with the camera that it has.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, like there are people who spend a lot of time on their phones playing games, but ultimately, I find I've used my phone the most when I'm either like out trying to take some cool pictures or I'm on vacation somewhere and I'm looking to take pictures. I like either then or Snapchatting and texting somebody. So having a phone which is relatively deficient in doing that, obviously it still has a camera, and I'm sure the camera is still pretty good quality, but comparatively towards the iPhone and the new Samsung, like I feel like they're gonna lose a lot of customers to it, right?
I'm with you on that, honestly.
Yeah. Another thing too is from my knowledge is it is being exclusively sold at Razer stores as well as exclusively on Razer on their site. So they do have a specific market for it. It's not like it's going.
I have it pulled up on eBay right now.
Well, I mean, you get what I'm saying.
Liar.
No, you get what I'm saying though. Like not like
Yeah.
T-Mobile or not like, you know what I'm saying? Like I'm pretty sure that they. I don't know if they realize that it would be a little difficult to go more mainstream, but I think they definitely had an idea. Like we know who we're selling this phone to. We know we're selling it to Razer fans that love just Razer gear. I mean, there's gonna be like, I guess you could say like tech hype beasts where they'll always go for Razer gear.
Here's the biggest question. Can you get your chroma for your keyboard, mouse pad, and phone to match up with your Razer phone?
Okay.
That would be dope. I'm not sure.
That would be like the nerdiest thing, I swear to God.
That'd be really awesome. Or like have an app for future products where you could change your chromas on your phone.
Yeah.
All the chroma
I honestly
lighting.
think I would love to have just like I think a Razer phone would be really cool if it had like if it had like a Razer, like a logo on the back of it, the Razer logo on the back of it, if that glows. I think if that has like an LED glow to it, I think that'd be really cool. I think it'll be clean. It wouldn't make me buy the phone because when I'm looking for a phone, I'm looking mostly for tech specs. But I think it would look cool at least. So, there's something there.
Yeah. And I'm actually looking at the specs right now, and I think the back camera may be up to par with some of the newer phones, but I think from what I've heard, it's more of the front-facing camera for like selfies and whatnot.
Mm.
I mean, I'm not a faggot, so I don't take a lot of selfies.
Yeah, you do.
I don't take that many selfies.
Dude, everything you send me on Snap is a selfie. Don't lie. Don't lie.
That's true, but I don't like take a lot of selfies. I don't consider selfie snaps selfies. Like not like
That's true. I get what you mean.
I don't need a good camera for those. I'm not taking those to show off to people. I'm taking them to communicate my retarded face to people. You know?
Nice.
So also with the new Razer phone, it does not have a headphone jack, just like a lot of new models of phones.
God, I
Razer,
hate that. I hate that.
I gotta be honest, I'm not a fan either. I am not a fan. I do like a headphone jack.
I like the fact that they're because, dude, I listen to music more than anything else. Like I do on my phone, and like, I'm sorry, but if my phone's on low battery and I gotta bust a nut, I don't want to have to choose between charging my phone and having the porn play over the fucking speaker. Like, I'm sorry, just being real here.
It's just, why would they think that's a good idea? Like, I don't understand why they think that's a good, like,
I think it's a marketing
business
strategy because they sell their own earbuds, right? For just like everyday use earbuds, not necessarily like gaming headphones or gaming earbuds. They're called the Razer Hammerhead, and they did. I'm not sure if this is new or not. I'm assuming it's new. But they did make one.
Bluetooth earbuds.
No, it's USB Type C, so it's where the kind of like with the iPhone, how you can if you didn't want to use the earpods, you can plug it into. Obviously, it doesn't have the same adapter as the iPhone. I don't know if you've seen the one where it's like you plug it in.
That looks fucking stupid.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's just a direct USB Type C into the bottom where you would charge your phone is what's on the Hammerheads. But I think that's also just a marketing strategy for them. Now they can appeal those headphones more to the Razer phone buyers or consumers.
Yeah, I just have so many problems. I listen to music a lot on my phones, and I don't want to have to sacrifice my charging port for my headphone port. And it literally, like, it should not be a difficult thing for them to do to put a fucking headphone jack in the phone. Like, I don't understand.
It's a trend that I don't think needs to be there.
Yeah,
exactly.
Because it's not even like it's super revolutionary, really. I mean, a lot of people have said it's not like cool. Like the thing is with me about the headphone jack, is that there's always the option for Bluetooth headphones. Why start making phones where you're forced to have those? You're putting consumers in a very like awkward spot. And I'm not saying it's just the Razer phone. Obviously, I'm talking like the phone industry as a whole.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just.
I mean, there's been a lot of blowback from it from a lot of people online. Like, I don't think I have once seen or heard a single person with a positive opinion of phone makers starting to take headphone jacks out of phones.
Yeah,
I have not a single positive opinion. There's like, it's some of the most nonsensical marketing shit I've ever seen in my entire life.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't want to say I've never seen any positive feedback. I would say there's people there that just don't mind as much.
Yeah.
I don't want to say they're like, oh, cool for it, but they're just like, who cares? Like, it doesn't matter to them.
But then there's a lot of people who are like, this is retarded.
Yes, exactly. And I feel like they're just not listening. Like, nobody's listening.
Exactly.
You know what I want to listen for?
What?
I want to listen to what Rock has to say about what he mentioned earlier that we don't know about.
About Petscop, dude?
Yeah, what is Petscop? I'm really interested.
Okay, I feel like that was a fake. You're really interested, but it's
No. I'm actually interested.
I'm genuinely
I have
interested.
I have zero clue what it is about.
Yeah.
So Petscop, this is like, so have you guys heard of like shit like Alan Tutorial or like kind of like alternate reality games that are like kind of YouTube creepypastas?
Yeah.
Petscop is kind of the newest one of these, but in my opinion, it's probably the best that's come out in a long time. And it's super, super, super in depth and creepy, and it's like, and has a lot of tie-ins to real life. So Petscop is an ARG about a PSX game of the same name, PlayStation 1 game of the same name. The videos are posted on YouTube on a channel of the same name and narrated by a person who may or may not be named Paul. He says his name is Paul, but you know, there's like a lot of dissenting opinions about whether or not he's lying about what his name is or whatever. What the most interesting part about like it's hard to explain Petscop to people who haven't seen it a lot of the time, but what's really interesting about it is that it starts off as like this regular old PS1 game where he has to go around and collect pets, and so he does that, but then he like glitches out the game, or at least it looks like a glitch, and he gets into this underworld zone, and it starts talking about and like a lot of the clues in the game start talking about a bunch of shit that's actually happened in real life. One of the biggest tie-ins in Petscop is it ties into this real life domestic abuse case is the best way to put it, of someone called Candace Newmaker. The word Newmaker is said a lot in the game, and one of the key things in the Candace Newmaker case, which is called rebirthing, is mentioned a lot in the game itself. So there's a pretty clear tie-in, right? Or at least a pretty clear reference. What the Candace Newmaker case was a 7-year-old girl who was adopted by her parents, but she wasn't feeling very like loving towards them. Kind of something you could imagine that would happen with an adopted family. And so they went and they paid, the family did, the parents, they went and they paid $7,000 to a pseudo-psychiatrist or something like that, who was preaching this rebirthing method of therapy. And what rebirthing is crazy fucked up. It is crazy fucked up. You get you wrap the kid up in like a blanket, and then you get a bunch of people who basically crush the child until the child can wriggle out. And what it's supposed to be is like the theory behind it, the fucked up theory behind the fucked up method is that they the kid is supposed to be re-experiencing coming out of the birth canal, and somehow that is supposed to reaffirm or rebuild their love for their parents. And suffice it to say, there's no actual scientific evidence, and when this rebirthing, which is what the procedure I just described is called, when this rebirthing was pulled off on, or was done to Candace Newmaker, the kid, she died. Okay. And it's pretty famous. There's Congress speeches about it. And then, when you look in the game, there's a lot of clues that hint to a guy named Rainer Newmaker, who basically is accusing whoever he made, because he's the maker of the game, whoever he made this game for, which you're kind of led to believe, but there's no evidence that it's not Paul, the narrator. Whoever he made the game for did something awful. And there's only 10 episodes. And so that's a lot of convoluted and complicated shit. That's all out of like under 2 hours of actual
like gameplay.
Of gameplay. And it's essentially, what's really cool about it is, you guys have watched YouTube walkthroughs before, right?
Yes.
It takes the form of a YouTube walkthrough, but
the actual game itself?
Yeah. Like the like it's just a series of videos on YouTube, which essentially feel like any other YouTube walkthrough with a dark twist.
Sounds interesting.
It's pretty interesting, and I would recommend anybody who hasn't heard of Petscop or doesn't know much about it to go watch it, because it's super cool. And then also, if you want to watch there's like some great explanation videos. But I'm a nerd for that sort of stuff, and I won't go too in depth into it because you guys don't know anything about Petscop, and so there's no
Spoiler
theorization to be
free.
done. Yeah, exactly.
I think ARGs are really interesting.
Yeah, I agree with
Meat
that.
Sleep is probably my favorite ARG.
What's that?
Meat Sleep, dude. Okay, so basically it started with like a team of like 12 different people, and they roll a dice, right? And all these people can do everything audio, visual, and getting footage, right? And they roll a dice, and these numbers are assigned to who does what. So like it's just a compilation of one person doing audio, one person doing video, and one person getting the footage, right? Like one person editing it, one person getting the footage. And they're really creepy, but they're really cool, and there's no meaning behind it, but a lot of people had like these theories for it, but it was just a really cool like team project. It was really interesting.
That is super interesting.
Yeah.
I'm
Have
not
you,
too familiar with this type of games. I've always been up until like just the last couple years. I've been all FPS my whole life, pretty much.
ARGs they're essentially giant multimedia, like they're interactive Okay, do you remember the release of Sombra?
Yes.
How there was like all that shit, like for Overwatch. Obviously for anyone who doesn't get what we're talking about, the release of Sombra was essentially an ARG, an alternate reality game, where they had a bunch of different websites and a bunch of clues leading up to it, and there was a bunch of theorization from the Overwatch user base. Yeah, that's what an ARG is.
Okay.
And they're pretty entertaining. I really like them because I love theory crafting about anything, and so I'm like a prime target for ARGs, right? Because that is what they're all about. Is they're straight up just for theory crafters. There's a one of the guys, like some people, I've heard him called the king of ARGs. I wouldn't call him that, but
Who?
his name is Alan Resnick.
No.
No?
No. Definitely not the king. No.
I've heard him called that, and he's made some crazy, like creepy, interesting, fucked up shit with his group and on his own. He's made the ARGs he's made are Alan Tutorial, if you want to consider it one, which was Alan Tutorial. Look up an explanation video of it. You don't need to watch all of the videos on the Alan Tutorial channel, but Alan Tutorial was basically a channel that ran for like 4 or 5 years that depicted the life of a guy called Alan, who a apparently mentally handicapped guy called Alan, who made tutorials on YouTube. They were kind of nonsensical, and when you watch like a couple of them, you're kind of like, oh, it's just a mentally handicapped guy making entertaining himself, right? The thing about it is, as it went on, it went to some pretty fucking dark places. So it starts off for the first, like, I want to say year and a half of Alan Tutorial, maybe longer, maybe shorter. He's living with his brother and his brother's girlfriend, probably. And he just kind of is making tutorials, and they don't really make sense. Like, there's a famous one where he's like, how to drill holes into a can, or how to crush a can, and he's like pushing a can around with a power drill for half of the video. And it's admittedly pretty funny, like legitimately pretty funny, if not a little bit fucked up. And so he's just kind of sitting in this attic making tutorials until one tutorial he makes, he basically tears down the roof of this attic. And in the next video, he's out on the roof of the attic, like of the house, staring into a now barred window, a window that didn't used to be barred, and he says that someone has packed up his stuff. So essentially, he's getting kicked out. Then over the next few months, you see this bloody kind of mentally handicapped guy foraging for food and making tutorials along the way, right? Like saying, like, here's a tutorial on whatever, and he literally doesn't even like speak in complete sentences. And you see his like hands are bloody, his feet get all dirty, and then after like a few months of that, where there's huge gaps. There's gaps of months in between these videos. So like an ARG like this is probably one of the biggest, if not the biggest scope ARG to be successful and be completed. Like they take a long time. And what's really interesting about this is that like the story it conveys is really cool too, because the message ends up being about how if you dig deep enough, I guess the message ends up being about how how YouTubers get trapped making things that they are known for making. Like if you know Joji, George Miller, Filthy Frank was actually for a time depressed making the Filthy Frank videos because like this is what I'm going to be doing for the rest of my life. And it's
I heard about that. It was so sad.
You can also relate that back to Jesse and Jane, or what's her name? Prank versus Prank. Remember they split up because the daily vlogging was taking a toll on their life.
Yeah, exactly. And so what starts out as this mentally handicapped guy making videos that he thinks are entertaining and trying to entertain himself, he ends up it's really interesting. There's like whole motifs in it. Like the motifs of color in the ARG are really interesting in and of themselves. Whenever there's blue shown, it's to signify his childhood or his childlike innocence. Whenever there's stark red shown when he's bleeding, it's to signify something that's crushing his innocence, crushing his spirit, kind of he's unhappy. And so you see a lot of this, and the series ends with him literally breaking out of he ends up getting kidnapped, and he breaks out of where he's kidnapped after living in like he gets kidnapped and forced to make tutorials, and then he doesn't want to make tutorials, so he makes news, and it's very very convoluted.
So are most ARGs like not necessarily like games, but they're more of like, I guess, like a journey. You just follow it.
Yeah.
Got it.
Absolutely. That's how Meat Sleep is as well.
Okay. Yeah. See, I didn't know too much about it. I thought it was like an actual like game you play or something. I mean, I guess it's in a way you can, but like,
yeah.
You know, it's another game that just came out.
New Call of Duty?
That new COD.
Oh no.
Actually, it's gotten very mixed feelings, I feel like.
Honestly,
I want to say
much more positive feelings than the rest.
Yeah. That's
Absolutely.
what I was getting. I was gonna say that even though it's been a little mixed because they did have a very, very rocky start, like launch, it's been mostly positive. Like actual gameplay wise, it's been positive.
Yeah, and I'd love to play it. Right now my PC's a little broken. And I'm not sure how to fix it, and I also don't have much money. But I would love to play the game. I played metric fuckload of Call of Duty.
Yeah, I've spent a lot of my time on Call of Duty, a lot of my years in gaming on Call of Duty. I started back, what was it? I think the very first Call of Duty I ever played was COD 4. I didn't play it enough to say it was like my first COD. I only played it a little bit, and then I went back to it after I like really started getting into COD.
Yeah, no, about the same thing happened with me.
Yeah, I pretty much stopped. I played Advanced Warfare quite a bit. I won't lie. I think
Advanced Warfare was my shit, bro.
I kind of started falling off when I think BO3 came out. I played BO3 like at the beginning a very little bit, and then I kind of did zombies for a while. But other than that, I didn't really play multiplayer, and they never appealed to me really. Like all the more flying around, I don't want to sound like I'm just following what everybody else says. Like it truly didn't feel like Call of Duty anymore.
Well, there was like 3 games in a row that were essentially the same video game.
Yeah.
Like Call of Duty gets ripped on a lot for or got ripped on a lot even before that for coming out with the same games over and over again.
Yeah.
But legitimately, Advanced Warfare, Black Ops 3, and Infinite Warfare were indistinguishable games.
Yeah, I heard that the multiplayer and like their basically like mechanics, I heard that they were pretty much exact same, barely tweaked if tweaked.
And I didn't like. I played a lot of Advanced Warfare because I thought it was really fun and I thought it was actually legitimately
It was the
it was
first
somewhat
like
innovative,
jetpack.
right?
Yeah, it was the first like jetpack Call of Duty, I guess you could say, and it was very like interesting. Everybody liked it at the beginning, and then they started to realize this isn't really Call of Duty.
Yeah, exactly.
And
I mean,
so
it still felt like Call of Duty a little bit, but it had like
it was very detachable from the other Call of Duties, and so
They took the jetpack idea and then put it on steroids for the next few
yeah,
Call of
for the next
Duties.
CODs, and it just
They're like,
it
oh,
got
people
too
are sort of
much.
like it, so let's put it on steroids.
Because at the point, the futuristic idea of like the war video game was very cool. It was, and everybody liked that idea. And
but
then
then
it
they
just
had
became
Black
too
Ops
much.
3, Ghosts, Advanced
And then
Warfare, Black Ops.
not only
like,
that, and then we just started fighting robots. I feel like we just didn't have that same like it
Yeah.
didn't feel like really war anymore.
Yeah,
So
true.
which is where Call of Duty came from. It's based off of war, and that's why we have World War II that just came out. And that is why it has such a positive feedback. Is because people love the old like boots on the ground type of Call of Duty with that old feel.
yeah, exactly.
Granted,
I mean-
Battlefield came out. Battlefield 1,
Yeah.
came out with a lot of not like I don't want to say they're the same game whatsoever. They're not near the same.
I
But
mean, they're based on 2 different world wars. so-
exactly, but still, like there's the bayonets in both. I feel like Battlefield 1 just came out earlier, which kind of put it in a weird spot. But for the COD fans that are true COD fans, they didn't. I don't think any of them really went to Battlefield or anything.
Yeah, like true. Call of Duty has the benefit of having something that very few games ever have had, and that is
Yeah.
like literally die-hard fans. CS
Yeah.
is another one of those games. I think League is another one of those games.
Oh, League is
But it's-
totally a game.
But it's only games that get fucking massive. I wouldn't even say Overwatch has any real
Oh no,
die-hard fans.
you can't really compare Overwatch though because they've only been around for like what 2 years now, 1 year.
That's true, but also like the thing about it is if Overwatch was as good of a game, or not as good of a game, but if it was like, how do I say this? If it was as unique and innovative as Call of Duty, League, and CS are, then
If they were as monumental, basically.
yeah, if it was as much of a landmark game for
'Cause you
essentially
can't-
if it wasn't a Blizzard game, because what Blizzard
Yeah.
does with video games is they perfect a genre. They take a genre and distill it down to its most efficient money-making form. That's what
Mhm.
Blizzard does with video games. That's why even Destiny has some diehard fans to it, right?
Yeah, I mean
World of Warcraft.
they
So-
felt so confident to where Bungie decided, you know what, we're not doing Halo. I mean, granted, Halo was kind of running down into a hole.
And Halo was one of those games, actually.
Yeah. Oh,
a
yeah.
long
Like
time.
these are the games that we're talking about. The games that literally have revolutionized gaming at its core itself. When you think about like monumental, like core revolutionary games, you think Call of Duty, Halo, CS:GO, League. Like these
Not
are
even
all
CS:GO,
games.
just CS.
Yeah,
right?
just CS.
Counter-Strike in
Okay.
general.
Yeah, Counter-Strike Source, Counter-Strike Global Offensive. Those are all like in their own way extremely impactful on the gaming community as a whole, all throughout
Exactly, yeah.
history.
Exactly, and that's something that Call of Duty only like has a luxury of having. Like even
Yeah.
Battlefield tried to build that, and there are diehard fans for Battlefield, but
They
it's
do to
not,
some extent, but it's not Call of Duty standards. It's not.
Yeah, and a lot of diehard Battlefield fans are diehard Battlefield fans because Battlefield for a long time and still is very it's the most realistic arcade
Yeah, it's
shooter out
unique.
there. But at the same time, when Battlefield 4 came out, when Battlefield Hardline, these games that kind of moved away from
Ooh, Hardline
realism
flopped.
yeah, well, I really enjoyed Hardline being a Call of Duty
I-
player and loving the fast-pacedness of a lot of like Battlefield 3 maps.
Yeah, I'd
but-
say for a Battlefield game though.
It wasn't a real Battlefield game.
That's
right?
that's the same thing. You could relate that back to Call of Duty.
Exactly.
Their phase of futurism
It's not real
wasn't Call of Duty. And that's
Yeah.
kind of the issue that those games were having. And it's really good to see that they both went back to their roots. They both took it back in time, went for the feel that really the community wanted for a long time. And that's why
Exactly.
they both did so well. Battlefield 1 did extremely well when it
I
first
think we'll
came
see.
out.
I think we'll see World War II do extremely well as well.
Oh yeah,
I
it
mean,
will do extremely well. I mean, I think we should still talk about the issues it had and their launch. I don't know if you guys heard about that.
I hear a lot about the bar being overpowered Is that true?
The gun?
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know. I haven't played enough multiplayer. I've only got like 8 hours into the game, but what's it called? I was gonna say that the launch. So the issue with Call of Duty World War II when it launched was that they had literally, so for as good as a game it is in the Call of Duty franchise, it had the worst and literally the worst launch out of any Call of Duty in history, which is funny. But
like launch in terms of sales or launch in terms of server status and stuff like that?
Service. Nobody was able to get on the game for hours. People stayed up
Yeah.
at night to get on the game, and they got hit with an error code.
Well, yeah, and like there's a reason for that, right? So everyone played the betas for the game, or a lot of people played the betas for the game, and then the people that didn't play the betas for the game heard about how holy fuck these betas are like really good. This is a really good COD, and so many people have been waiting for a really good COD to come back to like be fun again, because like I would still if there was like a legitimate player base for it, I'd still go back and play COD 4, MW2, MW3, Black Ops 2, even like these games that are still really enjoy.
Mhm.
But there's no player base for it. But like when people hear about this, feels a lot like the old Call of Duties, like even Infinite Warfare, or not Infinite Warfare, was it the COD 4 remastered? Even COD 4 remastered, while it was like, yeah, it looked like COD 4 a lot of the time. And all
It didn't
this
feel like
stuff.
it. They added so much.
Yeah, exactly. And the engine had changed so much that it couldn't recapture the magic.
Yeah.
But what they did was they created something that is more of a natural progression in the Call of Duty, like, how do I say it? Like the Call of Duty series, really. Like more of something that is more like a new COD, but still a true COD,
Yeah.
right? With World at War. Whereas they created something which is like,
It's new. I mean, it is. It totally is new. It's like, it's not even. So obviously, we had World at War, COD 5, right? And that was so many Call of Duties ago, many years ago. And it's still, World War II is still not even like on par with that. It's new. It's actually new. The engine is new. The gameplay, it feels new, which is good. I mean, that's what to expect.
yeah.
But still, it's a very good spin-off of what COD has been in the past. It's really good. Like gameplay-wise, it is amazing. It's gotten great feedback. One poor feedback, or some poor feedback that I've been hearing from it, or like poor criticism, is that one, there are way too many. You basically get put into a loading screen for like everything you do, and it's just this big black screen that says Call of Duty World War II on it, and it gets really annoying because it's like almost every little action you do, you get slapped with a loading screen.
That's unfortunate.
Which is annoying. Yeah, I mean, it's criticism where it needs to be. It's really annoying. Another thing too is that the UI itself is trash. It is garbage.
Is it?
It is very bad. It's kind of funny. I've been seeing this everywhere, and I even noticed it myself. There's people tweeting like, "Oh," or like saying that like, "Oh, you'll always get the map you want if you know how to vote," because nobody can figure out how to vote skip maps. That's how bad the UI is when you're searching for a lobby. And sometimes I can't even figure out how to get out of a lobby. Like the UI is actually very bad, which is
That's unfortunate.
Yeah,
they'll
that's
update
why,
that though.
Yeah,
A big part
they'll
of
have to tweak. I mean, it's very early in release. They've definitely got room to improve.
Yeah, for sure. And whenever I look at a Call of Duty game, like you can't pay attention to the balance in the first month or two, even in the first like 3 months, because I mean, you look at like even with fucking betas and shit, they're like shit's gonna change before the release actually comes out, and then once the release comes out, things will settle. There will be a meta for which guns are the best, and like what is considered broken, what's considered overpowered, and then
that's the thing too, though, is like it's not even about that. Like no matter what, like even though that is poor criticism, nobody cares enough to where they'll stop playing. The game is good,
yeah,
which is why people are staying. Like they'll get over the UI. I mean, yeah, it's annoying, but for the people that really do enjoy the game, which a majority of people do, they don't care. It's a good game.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is awesome.
Yeah.
It really impacts new players though.
Yeah,
yeah,
true.
That don't have the patience to like.
Yeah, I agree. Even for old people, or like not old people, like old players, it does impact. Like you're just confused. Like honestly, so like when I first started playing the new COD, it was confusing how to navigate through
Mm-hmm.
the UI. It was kind of unfortunate, but I mean, got through it. It's
Yeah, for sure.
I just can't stress enough though. At the core, it's a good game. They did good this
Which is
year.
good. It's good to hear. I don't know. I think it was. That's a Treyarch game. Yeah, it has to be.
No, it's Sledgehammer,
Sledgehammer.
Advanced
My boys at
Warfare.
Sledgehammer. I'm telling you, Sledgehammer. They've
Killed
been on
it.
they've been on the come up, dude. I'm telling you what. They're fucking. I'm telling you.
They redeemed themselves, is what they did.
I love Modern Warfare 3. I hated I raged at that game all the fucking time. I didn't hate it. But I loved playing that game. I think one thing that Modern Warfare 3 did better than Black Ops 2 did better than Black Ops 1 did better than a lot of other games was its skill gap was massive. Like, yes, there was a lot of broken shit, but by the end of the game's balancing cycle, everything in the game was broken. And if everything in the game is broken, nothing's broken. And since nothing's broken and the time to kills are so fast, that makes the skill gap huge.
Yeah,
Right?
that's how I feel about Rainbow Six.
Oh yeah,
Like every gun is a one tap to the head. Like
Exactly.
that is crazy.
you just
And-
find what works for you. Everything's balanced.
Yeah.
And so, if there's that, right, then if if there's balance in that way that creates such a massive skill gap, then the game becomes conducive to showing off your skill, which I happen to not be terrible at the game. I mean, I put way too much fucking time into the game, but I happen to not be too bad at it, and I was able to play pretty well sometimes. And when I did play well, it was one of the best feelings in the world, right? Like you just you felt like you shit on people consistently, because you did.
Yeah.
That's something that was somewhat lost in Black Ops 2. Like in Black Ops 2, that you could formulaically win TDMs. Like I had an 80% win rate in TDMs for a month because you just ran Guardian and Sentry Turret and you could spawn trap people constantly. And because you could spawn trap people, it didn't matter what gun you were fucking using; they would just come out of the spawn.
Those guys got it.
It's not even that's how TDM was played for a long time in Black Ops 2.
So while I'm out there trying to get 5-ons, you were that guy.
That's how I was getting 5-ons, baby. Let me tell you what.
Dude, what was that
Guardian
one
Sentry.
gun, the MK14 and MW3? Slap a thermal sight on that
Yes.
thing, dude. I would murk kids easy.
Yeah. While we're on the topic of video games, I think we should talk about Destiny 2. It's gotten some controversy whether or not...
I guarantee you Destiny fans love that game.
Yeah, no, I mean, being one of them, I gotta be honest, I've put a lot of hours into that game already. Even me, though, I have some harsh criticism, and Jillo can give Homozone.
Yeah, I
can
haven't
give-
played the game that much at all. I got to level 20 and I haven't played it further than that point.
Yeah.
So I don't really have a lot of room to talk, but I think the story was fun. Public events are not fun. The thing I like about games is when there's diversity, but I feel like with Destiny, I'm just shooting at stuff all the time. 24/7, I'm shooting at stuff. And that's for me, that's not very fun, you know?
Yeah, that's why the game definitely appeals to a certain group of how do I
People
say
that enjoy
people,
farming.
Yeah, people that really enjoy farming and just collecting,
grinding.
fucking love
grinding.
farming.
Yeah, so
Fucking
just
love it.
farming, collecting,
shit.
grinding until you are the top and you don't care how long it takes, or until you're max, right? It's
fucking love
really
that shit.
gears towards that person.
Definitely.
If I'm gonna be honest, it's got one of the worst storylines in gaming history. It's
Yeah.
bad. It is really bad.
Destiny
didn't
1
keep up with it at
storyline
all.
was awesome if you read the Grimoire cards, and
yeah, but that was
retarded.
Destiny 1's issue, is that you had to go online for lore, which is bad in a video game.
I 100% agree with that.
Which is what Destiny 2 fixed, though. They tried to put more lore. They did a lot more cinematics. It felt like
I'm sad
cinematic
that
shorts.
Peter fucking midget dude Tyrion from Game of Thrones. I don't remember his name, but I'm sad that he's not Ghost anymore. He's my favorite Ghost
the
actor.
voice actor.
Yeah.
Oh, Yeah, but what
Ghost having a different voice just kind of like threw me for a loop when I was watching the gameplay commercial or the gameplay trailer, and I was like, "Whoa, what the hell?"
So what I want to talk about is the fact that people found it too I guess too fast to get through the storyline. I got to be honest, I've finished 3 storylines already, and the game's been out for not even that long. Um, and
Yeah.
people found that the end game there just wasn't enough to do, especially because and I'm going to be referring to PC, by the way, when talking about this, not console, because console came out earlier. I believe like a month earlier than PC came out.
Like a month and a half.
Yeah, about that. So I'm going to be talking more towards the PC focus of it. And people just found because so Destiny 2 didn't release the raid or not Nightfall, the raid or trials or anything like that until a week or 2 weeks. I can't remember. I feel like it was 2 weeks. Until the game came out. So for the people that grinded the game, and me being included, that grinded the game, there wasn't much to do afterwards. I mean, you could do strikes and public events. That was really about it. That, and like once you do those, like Homozone was saying earlier, it gets boring, which it does.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so I mean, if you're okay with grinding, which I am, so I can tolerate it. I wouldn't say I loved doing it. I can tolerate it just because that's
Grinding
how I like to play.
is my shit, baby.
Yeah, that's why I like to do it. So it wasn't like painful for me to do it. But I gotta admit, there just wasn't enough to do. And then when the raid came out, even then, I feel like the first time you do it, it's cool because it's something new. It takes a long time.
I love doing doing the raids without a guide or without anybody that knows how to do it. Like your first time through the raid, figuring it out yourself, spending like legit 12 hours, like having a weekend blocked out for you and fucking 5
It's
friends.
cool. It's a cool experience. Not even just for the game.
One of the coolest fucking experiences in the entire game.
Exactly.
You don't have to enjoy Destiny to like love the raids. Like you can hate farming, you can hate all that shit. That is just one of the coolest things about like that is honestly I think the main selling point of the game is that.
Exactly. But one of the main issues though is so being no end game reward, I guess you could say, or like you only could get, and then another thing is that people were getting hit with soft caps, which means they don't get any gear that really levels them up, or the gear is extremely hard for them to obtain until either waiting for Nightfall, raid, and other stuff like that, right? And so you get hit with either soft caps in the end game, and so you just don't even feel like you're really progressing from doing public events all the time or whatever. And so the end game felt a little bit weak to people, and it didn't seem like they were getting a fair payout for their time spent, which I completely agree with. But one of the main issues is that the new expansion, right, their first DLC, comes out the 5th of December, I believe, and you have to pay for that, is what people are kind of getting annoyed with, because they feel as though it should be something that we should have, because it doesn't feel like the game's finished, basically. It doesn't seem like it's a whole game where it's at right now.
Which is one of the biggest criticisms of Destiny 1.
Exactly.
I think the biggest problems with both Destinies 1 and 2, the biggest problems with on-release those video games was the fact neither of them was finished when they were released. It's all about studio pressure. And when you look at it, let's look at who the fuck the developers of the game are. Let's look at 2 developers who are notorious for having deadlines and pushing them to them. Like the publishers, I'm pretty sure it's published by Activision.
Activision, yep.
Activision, and look at what they did to Call of Duty. Look at what they did to the Tony Hawk series. Look at what they did to, I believe, Guitar Hero. Like, Guitar Hero was run into the goddamn ground. Tony Hawk was run into the goddamn ground. They nearly did the fucking unthinkable and ran Call of Duty into the goddamn ground. In fact, I think if World War II sucked, if that was
it would have been
as bad a game,
very bad spot.
It would have been fucking over for Call of Duty. Like I don't know if there's a way for them to come back from that if that game is not good. I wouldn't say
it'd be over. It'd be extremely difficult for them to get their numbers back. I think they would maybe slowly get there, but it would definitely take a lot of work.
They would have to
reward the players and the consumers in a way that they felt like their time and money was being truly valued.
They'd have to spend like. They'd have to have like a COD 4
But that's where Destiny 2 is kind of flying, is that people feel like that money, them spending money on the game itself, because the game was what, $60, like a standard game, 60 or 80 or whatever. And
talk about fucking Battlefront 2 about costs of games.
No, we're not going to get into that right now. But being that the game itself was just a standard paying game, and that the DLC you're going to need to pay what, like $20 for it, for basically the game to be a little more finished, people don't seem to like that idea, which I can completely understand. It's annoying.
Yeah,
it truly is. I mean, you're basically paying to get a portion of the game, which doesn't really sound... I mean, that is what a DLC is. But when you think about how short because you can finish the storyline of Destiny 2 in one night. You can.
Mm-hmm.
That's how short it is. If you just, like, I guess, like, speed run it, but that's still the fact that you can complete a character, essentially. If you've created one character, you can complete all of them. That's how the game works.
Yeah.
You can level them all to, like, max level or close to max level as long as you've had one there.
For sure.
And that's how the game works. And that's why people feel like the end game is not being valued enough, and that their money's kind of, like, wasted. And to think that also with the game on PC just coming out, I think 4 weeks ago, 3 or 4 weeks ago, to think that in literally a month they have to spend more money just to get another portion of the game is what people don't like.
Yeah, no.
After such a short time.
I think that's completely fair. I think that's a completely fair criticism.
It is completely fair.
Of Destiny.
I mean, me being a Destiny 2 fanboy over here, I'm going to play it. But
oh, yeah, for sure. I think... I don't know. I don't think Destiny 2's DLCs costing money is what Bungie wants. I think that's what Activision wants, because Activision tries to suck as much money as humanly possible out of their video games.
Yeah.
Activision Blizzard, which is like the same company,
joint,
right? Yep. Activision Blizzard are as bad as EA, in my opinion.
I've never played an EA game.
Their whole stunt with the Battlefront
2 costs $80 and isn't finished.
No. Okay,
unbelievable.
Not only is it not finished,
there's microtransactions.
Do you actually know all about it?
Yes.
Okay, explain
$80
it.
goddamn dollars, and there's microtransactions in the fucking video game.
No, explain the progression, the level progression of how you.
I don't know.
It's a pay to win game.
I don't know.
At the moment.
I don't know.
Is it really?
It's literally, and you know what they did too? So it was a pay to win game. Everybody found the exploit that was in that game, and people were furious. Like, it is a actual huge topic. EA.
What's the exploit?
So I think it was like at 41 hours, you can, if you spent like, God, there was this whole, I don't want to like misspeak or like say anything, but just from what I've heard in general knowledge, there was like, I believe if you put like 40 hours in the game, it's the same as spending like $50 or $100. You could get there just by spending that money.
Jeez,
it's actually pay to win, and you could only get a couple certain characters by paying, or you have to spend that 40 hours. Like, it's an actual problem in the game. And so what EA did, they turned off all transactions in the game. You cannot spend $1 on that game right now, other than purchasing it.
But they're gonna put microtransactions back in the game at a later date.
Exactly. So
and that's the thing that right now has a lot of people.
Yeah, that's the worst part about it.
I actually don't think. Okay, I trust the free market in that I trust EA to make smart decisions with their microtransactions. Look at what League, look at what CSGO, look at what Overwatch, look at what Call of Duty, look at what all of these things do with their microtransactions in game, and having them all be purely cosmetic. Even Destiny had microtransactions for a while, if I'm remembering correctly. And so when you look at all of those games, what do all of these microtransactions have in common? They're all purely cosmetic. They can't give anybody microtransactions. In order for a game to not be pay to win, they cannot give you a gameplay advantage. It doesn't matter if the gameplay advantage is purely through advancing your progression. It doesn't matter anything about that. It has to be purely fucking cosmetic. I don't care if it takes 40 hours. Yeah, I don't care if it takes 40 hours to unlock Vader. What I care about is it taking 40 hours to unlock Vader, but also being able to buy Vader for $20. That is that's the problem with it, right?
And that's the issue with Battlefront 2 right now, is that you had those two options when it should really only be one, which is your time spent.
Exactly.
Which it is not.
And realistically, right? They had a great system for keeping people engaged in their video game for at least 40 hours of gameplay so they can get Vader. Like, there's a lot of people who complain about not being able to play Vader when you buy the game. Go fuck yourselves. Have you ever played a game that, like, these are the people that I take issue with. You don't think you should have to level up and unlock shit in that video game? You're ridiculous, in my opinion. You're insane. You've never played Call of Duty in your life, or never played Battlefield, never played any of these goddamn games. Like, go play another shooter. You have to level up to unlock shit.
Yo, getting 100 headshots. Oh man, that was the grind.
So I'm gonna read a portion of what EA Star Wars response was to all the criticism. They tweeted out a photo, and it's really just like just text. So what they said, as we approach the worldwide launch, it is clear that many of you feel there are still challenges in the design. We've heard the concerns about potentially giving players unfair advantages, and we've heard this is overshadowing an otherwise great game. This is never our intention. Sorry we didn't get this right. We hear you loud and clear. We're turning off all in-game purchases. We will now spend more time listening, adjusting, balancing, and tuning. And then there was a little bit more, but that's basically the gist of it. That's actually from the EA.
After that, they say we'll turn them back on after we.
Yeah,
whatever.
They said this means that the options to purchase crystals in game is now offline, and all progression will be earned through gameplay. Because the issue was, I believe, so I haven't actually played the game myself, but from what I've heard, is that those crystals, they actually give you gear that impacts your gameplay. Or they can give you, like, maybe XP or something, right?
Yeah.
And the ability to purchase crystals in-game will become available at a later date, only after we've made changes to the game. So they don't explicitly say what they're going to do to the game, which is also why people don't feel that this was a strong enough fix to the issue. People think that this is more them just disabling harsh criticism and backlash to their game. This is them saying that, like, hey, we realize we messed up. Keep playing the game as normal. We'll just throw in the progression later, or we'll throw in the pay to win later.
I think
is what people are getting at. This is what people think it is.
Yeah, for sure. And I think so. Like I said before, I think I have enough confidence in EA knowing that they can't, like, knowing they saw the market reaction, they saw their stock fall, which it legitimately did, and they're like, okay, we had to do something about this. So they did something about it, and I think what they're going to do is, I think they're going to do the right thing. They're going to look at the examples of microtransactions in other games, like I said before, and they're going to make the microtransactions in Battlefront 2 purely cosmetic. And if they don't do that, then they're fucking retarded, and people should boycott every EA title from here on out. I swear to God.
Yeah, I definitely think that people are just heated right now during this situation, like people that are actually playing the game. So I feel like they didn't really dissect what I just read. And they did say they would do it at a later date, but not only at a later date. They said after they made, like, actual changes to the game, which would impact, I guess, the quote-unquote pay-to-win. So they could either, like you were saying, make it purely cosmetic, or make it to where, I don't know, maybe, like, the only way to really make something not pay-to-win is cosmetic.
Yeah, exactly. This is what I'm saying.
Because that was the issue, though, is people were able to buy these crystals or whatever. I don't even know exactly what they are. I believe
they're just an in-game currency.
Yeah, in-game currency for stuff, or loot crates or whatever. Because I know loot boxes were in the game. I played like a game or two of the beta, and if
the game's really fun. I played the beta. The game is really, really fun.
Yeah, it is. It's generally that's why. So it does say
that's another reason why
game.
People. Yeah, that's why people are so outraged at Battlefront 2.
It's because they like it. It's just that that progression style is flawed, extremely flawed. And the worst part about it, in my opinion, is somebody thought this was a legitimate good idea. Like, it got green-lighted.
Yeah, no. And people were complaining about it in the beta, too, because it was the same in the beta, I want to say. Or maybe that might not be true. Microtransactions might not have been turned on in the beta. But it's like,
now the thing was, it's like you would earn currency from playing, and then you could spend that on crates.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like you spending actual money on the game, at least from what I did and what I saw.
Yeah. And I cannot stress enough how much I dislike people who think that having to unlock things through playing the game is a bad idea. Go play GTA for fuck's sake. Like,
Yeah.
people like that. Just it's like, oh, you can't play all the things in the game if you're a casual player. Well, obviously, how the fuck do you think they're gonna keep people playing their game? Like,
Yeah, I mean, it's that's the harsh reality of it too, is that there's always going to be microtransactions and in-game currencies now, or not like that necessarily like in-game currencies, but there's always going to be some type of microtransaction in every popular game from here on out.
like-
that's just the way that games work these days.
It adds so much money to the
It
title.
does. They get so much money.
yeah, and I don't care if EA has microtransactions in their game. Is it ethical for them to want to make the fucking amount of money off of Battlefront 2 that they're making at the moment, having the game be $80 and then also having microtransactions in game that like a lot of people are spending money on? Like,
Yeah.
that's ridiculous. But
And if they
also,
really want those microtransactions with the game being $80, I mean, let people do what they want with their money if that's their choice, but just don't make it to where they will have an
don't make it
unfair
pay to win.
advantage. Exactly. And so
if you're paying for the game, you should have equal footing as everybody who's
Exactly.
paid as much as you
Yeah.
have or more.
And I think that's the
Otherwise-
bottom. I think that's the bottom line about that whole situation. It's just there needs to be an even playing field between all players, and yeah,
Yeah.
that's about it.
I think we should end it off with that. I think
Yeah,
I think so.
we've been going for a good amount of time. It was a good job.
It was a good conversation, guys.
Very
Moral of the
fun.
story: ARGs are dope.
ARGs
Microtransactions
are dope.
should be done in a certain way, or else you are a bingweed.
Indeed.
Yeah.
And then
New Razer
We
phone
call
kind
it-
of dope.
You new Razer phone, Epic Gaming.
it's cool, but we have some concerns about it. Obviously, specifically about the camera. And then the new COD's probably pretty cool.
Yeah,
Probably.
And
All right,
Destiny
well.
2 has some problems.
yeah. All right, well, it was
For
fun,
anyone
guys.
that made it this far, congrats
Love
to
you.
you. You have a large attention span.
Yes, thank you guys. Not sure how often our schedule will be for the podcast. Obviously, this is
Bi-weekly. And by that I mean we're gonna do 2 a week.
yeah. So
I'm kidding. I don't know.
yeah. So this is
Okay.
obviously our first episode of the podcast, and
Obviously.
so we would really appreciate feedback in the comments about what you guys would like to see, any topics as well. Right now we just kind of riff-raffed and we did a little meeting about some topics, and yeah, it was a lot of fun. Let us know what you guys want us to talk about, and we'll see you in the next one. Later,
See ya.
guys.
See ya, fam.